Fantastic. Glorious. Things are just starting to get warmed up here. For those of you joining, you are here at the very beginning of this here fancy live stream of the Lunduke Journal. You are in for one hell of a time. Buckle up, Buttercup. It's gonna be a ride. We'll give everyone a couple of moments to show up. Feel free to join the live chat on any of the various platforms, Locals and Rumble and YouTube. And ask me any questions while we get warmed up. We got a couple of shows we're going to be doing today. Because holy heavens, it's a crazy day. It's a crazy week in a crazy month in a crazy year. Nuts. Absolutely nuts. I'm slowly pulling together details for the first show that we'll be doing. I don't know that we'll be doing these in order that you see them on the screen, but we will be powering through all of these particular topics on this fine day. Oh my word, there's a lot of topics here. I mean, there's just a lot of meat and potatoes going on. Welcome, people in the Rumble chat. It'll be a couple of moments before we get the shows going. How this is going to work is we're going to record 3 shows today. Because there's 3 shows we've got to record today because there's just so much stuff happening. 2 of them have to be recorded like now. And the third one I just really want to talk about. But there's just so much stuff happening. There's so much stuff happening. Chad over in the chat asks, do you think Mint is going to avoid the political nonsense? I know they've tipped toes. Yeah. Mint has a long and glory. Here's the thing with Linux Mint. Linux Mint, it originally started as nothing more than Ubuntu plus region restricted codecs, right? Because Clem, the guy behind Linux Mint, liked Ubuntu, but he really wanted the MP3 and DVD codecs, which were illegal in the country he lived in. And so Canonical, Ubuntu, couldn't ship those codecs with Ubuntu. So he made Mint bundling in the illegal codecs. So for the first couple releases of Linux Mint, it was just flagrantly violating the law, just for funsies, right? That's what Mint was all about. I covered Linux Mint on a podcast I did called the Linux Action Show back then, and one of our listeners was a graphic designer, and he's like, you know what, I like Ubuntu and I like these region restricted codecs. So he went ahead and joined the Linux Mint project and began doing design work for Linux Mint, which up until that point had no design whatsoever. It was just Ubuntu with codecs. And he came up with these green designs and all the logos and everything else, and he made it look cool, which made Linux Mint start to take off and become a real legitimate Linux distribution in its own right, beyond just, Ubuntu plus codecs. So Linux Mint kind of exists because of our show at the time. Clem, the leader of Linux Mint, has made some very political posts in the past. He's gone extreme politics a couple of times. Their forum has banned discussing me. They even made it so that if you use the word Lunduke, it autocorrects to violates forum rules. That's a direct quote. They've done a number of things, but in every case where they've done some sort of crazy political stunt, they've always walked it back, right? They'll do something crazy, like they'll do the forum thing, or the leader of Linux Mint will come out and say, if you like Israel, you aren't allowed to use Linux Mint anymore. You're just like he'll just make like random statements, right? And then the community behind Linux Mint will go, I don't care for this. Stop being political. And then Clem walks it back and deletes his posts every single time. So is Linux Mint a little bit political or woke? Sometimes, but you know what? They always walk it back. So like right now, you're allowed to say my name, last I heard, over on their forums. And you're allowed to use Linux Mint, even if you're a fan of Israel. Like all the various things that Clem has attacked people for, aren't actually blocking people from using it anymore. So I kind of give them a pass. Look, I'm not here to police what people think. I'm not here to tell people they can't have political views, just as long as they're not using those political views to determine who's allowed to use their software or be involved in their projects and these other things, right? That's really what we're talking about. So will Linux Mint continue to make stupid political statements and then walk them back? Probably, if the past is any indicator of future performance. But, that's fine. It's not ideal. I kind of wish he wouldn't, but whatever. I'm fine with it. All right, let's get to this first one going here. The first one let's do the Cloudflare story. Let's do the Cloudflare story first. This is an interesting one. All right. Jeez, there's so much here to this. God, there's a lot going on, guys. All right, so I'm going through right now, and I'm grabbing my posts because I put screenshots. If you follow me over on X, you get a lot of this stuff right away. You know what I mean? You kind of see them as I see them, because I kind of use X as sort of a notepad almost. Like I see things coming in. Once I vet it, I screenshot it and I post it over to X, because it allows people to kind of stay up to date and kind of get breaking news before it's been processed, before I spend a significant amount of time processing it and figuring it all out. And oh, this isn't what I needed. I needed the other thing right now. And so you may have seen some of this, but we're going to go through some in detail parts of it here. Not this. There's just so much. There's so much happening right now. I took a couple days off because it's a holiday for me. Rosh Hashanah just ended yesterday, and so it's been. I'm getting back into it late in the day yesterday, and it's just so much. No, that's not what I'm looking for. Oh my word, that's a lot. No, that's not what I'm looking for. Good gravies. How much news is there? This is insane. Was this what I'm looking for? Nope. That's crazy stuff from the other story. Oh my word. Nope, more of that. I got one more post I want to show you guys, and it's in here somewhere. There's just so much. Nope, that's that. There we go. Ha 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 ha. Doodly doo. Beautiful. All right, that's the other story. You guys are seeing me look through stuff. You know what? Here, let me show you this. Here, you can watch as I go through this. All right, we're gonna do this story first here. Leftists attack Cloudflare funding of Lady Bird and Omarchy Linux. All right, so we're gonna go over here. I'm gonna change up the text here so you can see me changing text in real time. It's like watching an episode of 24, only way better. By the way, I miss 24. Don't worry about that bottom text down there. This text down at the bottom, we'll change that in a second. All right. Let's go back over here. All right. So we got a couple of things. That part, this part. Keep going. Cloudflare. Yep. That's a funny story we're not going to get to. Okay, here's a completely unrelated story, guys. We're not going to be covering this as a full-on story because honestly, it's just not worth a full story. It's just funny. So there's a game developer for a game company called what's it called? What is it called? It's a queer game dev studio called Kitsune Games, who makes a game about lesbian fox girls And you can see a little screenshot of it right here. Nintendo wasn't brave enough to put lesbian fox girls in Super Mario Brothers 3, so they did. But this game developer who makes lesbian fox girl pixel art games, their queer game studio, is very, very mad that the next Game Developers Conference, the GDC, is being held in the United States of America. Why, do you ask? Because of, quote, the concentration camps, armed military street patrols, and the not insignificant risk of being jailed and tortured. and a whole bunch of people chimed in with these crazy ideas. I don't know about you, but I haven't been to the concentration camps here in the United States recently, or had issues with the armed military street patrols and the real risk of being jailed and tortured. You know, the United States does jail and torture people just all the time. And a whole bunch of the people who are chiming in like, oh my gosh, yes, Queen, this is so correct. Also talk about how, quote, they, meaning us in the US, are maskless, so you die of plague. The delusion levels on these individuals is just off the charts. It's just crazy. Like I'm not even going to do a full show on this because it's just so much delusion. It's amazing how many people agree with these stances. Game developers and open source developers and big tech devs and whatnot. It's crazy. It's crazy. Drinking a cherry Coke today because it felt right. All right. Scrolling down here. Let's see. There was one more. No, this does it. This does what I need here. Yeah. Okay. All right. We're gonna go with this. Good gravies. This is just stupid. All right. All right. Now let's fix that bottom third here. You can watch me come up with a little bit of text for the bottom third here. Oops. I like since we're going to be mentioning a guy named Drew DeVault in this episode, I'm going to label him the anti-Lunduke activist. Just because I feel like he would like to be called an anti-Lunduke activist. So I'm going to call him that. All right, Gnome, How to Geek, and anti-Lunduke activist Drew DeVault. Let's see. Okay, let's make this here. All right, so it is Cloudflare. Contributes actually to There we go. Ooh, let's fix these texts right there. Look at that. There we go. That right there is fantastic. All right. Let's do the first one here. Appreciate all you guys hanging out with me here. All 555 of you. Welcome, everybody. Good gravy. Now, Pedro in the chat asks, Drew DeVault is anti-everything. It's more like, who's he for? He hates Lunduke, he hates Stallman. Who does he like? Well, he likes child pornography. That's a real thing. He actually developed software. Drew DeVault, this is a real thing, developed software for cataloging child pornography. Very real thing. Here we go. Okay, everybody. Load this up. Yep. Beautiful. Oop, don't need that. Just need this. Good. All All right, let me proofread this. Leftists attack Cloudflare funding of Ladybird and Omarchy Linux. Cloudflare contributes financially to open source projects. Gnome, How to Geek, and anti-Lunduke activist Drew DeVault attack. All right, that sounds good. Here we go. Oh, for those of you new to the live streams, here's how this works. I am going to begin the show. At the very, very end, this will show up. This beautiful logo on black here. And I will say something like, end broadcast. At the end of the broadcast, do not go away. I will still be here because we've got all three of these shows to get through, plus some Q&A. It's not really the end of the broadcast. It's the end of that broadcast, that single show right there. So hang tight, sit with me, and ignore the end broadcast statement. Here we go. Now I have to find my buttons. I've got buttons all over the screen here, and I have to find them all because that's how it is. I'm glad I stalled for a second because then I just cherry cola burped. You're welcome. Yeah, I wish you were here to smell it because it smells like cherry cola and eggs. Here we go. Now you know what I had for breakfast. A few days ago, Cloudflare donated a rather sizable chunk of money to a few open source projects. Now, I like funding open source projects. It's a good thing. So this made me happy. I liked that over on X and I retweeted or whatever that. I'm like, fantastic. Support these open source projects. In this particular case, Cloudflare funded the Ladybird web browser and Omarchy Linux. Well, now, Ladybird web browser and Omarchy Linux are two projects that I think are pretty fantastic. In fact, they are two projects that are on Lunduke's non-woke software list. And they're non-woke software, which is quite nice. Now, what does that mean? That means that they're not political. That's really all that means. It doesn't mean they're taking some sort of crazy hard right-wing, alt-right, QAnon, blah, blah, blah political stance. No. It just means that they're not political. They are some of the few pieces of software out there, some of the few software projects in the open source and free software world that isn't going out there and saying, you have the wrong politics, so therefore you must be ejected from our community. No. They're just not being political. They're just making some good gosh darn software, and that's it. So I like them for that. Well, Cloudflare recognized the quality and interest of both Omarchy Linux and Ladybird web browser and donated to them. And instantly, like within moments, the attacks started rolling in. The first ones that I saw came from the GNOME contributors and the editor of How to Geek. The How to Geek website, which occasionally has a couple of good articles on it. They went on the rampage here. Cloudflare says this GNOME contributor is proudly funding Nazis again. And then what do we got over here? And then Corbin Davenport, the editor of How to Geek, says, wait, what does opinionated Arch Linux, because that's the tagline for Omarchy Linux, is opinionated Arch Linux. What does that mean? Oh, that guy. Referring to DHH, the creator of Omarchy Linux. And then the GNOME contributor jumps back in. Arch, but with swastikas in the wallpaper. Makes you wonder why and how everyone is barely managing to pay rent while there is seemingly endless amount of money available the moment someone turns openly Nazi. Such a coincidence. Oh, goodness gracious. I mean, can you believe? It's ridiculous. They see people succeeding that they don't like the politics of, and they just go on the rampage, man. They just attack. And they don't just attack a little bit. They call them Nazis. They call them straight up Nazis. And it's absolutely ridiculous. In fact, DHH, the guy who is behind the Omarchy Linux, had a post over on his website where he talked a little bit about this and about how when you call people Nazis, that's basically giving public permission to commit violence against them. And we're seeing that over and over again. I mean, regularly now we're seeing violence, shootings and murders and online people planning online assaults. And it's all wrapped in it's okay because that person's a fascist, so we got to kill them, or that person's a Nazi, so we got to kill them. Now, are the people behind Ladybird web browser and Omarchi Linux, are they Nazis? Well, no, they're not Nazis, because that's a very real thing, and they are absolutely not Nazis. In fact, I can find very little at all that they have in common with Nazis. They're just not Nazis. But these leftist activists are framing it that way to encourage people to commit violence against other people, against people that they dislike. It's really, really disgusting. And then there was so much of this, so many attacks, just off the wall attacks, all over social media, blog posts and the like. And I want to draw your attention to one of them because it's just too ridiculous and awful. I want to talk about Drew DeVault for a second here. Now, because, why wouldn't we not talk about Drew DeVault? Now, who is Drew DeVault? Drew DeVault is a leftist activist within the world of free and open source software. One of his biggest contributions to the world of open source software is that he wrote a piece of software to help with the organization of child pornography. That's a real thing. You can look that up. I'm not slandering Drew DeVault here. He wrote software to help, like, with metadata and whatnot of cartoon depictions of people doing awful things to little kids. So that's Drew DeVault's contribution to open source software. Beyond that, he's also an anti-Lunduke activist, which is a weird thing to be, an anti-Richard Stallman activist, what else? He was against the founder of Twitter, Jack Dorsey. Jack Dorsey was scheduled to speak somewhere, and he held like a big sit-in where he was declaring like he was going to like disrupt proceedings if anyone allowed Jack Dorsey to talk. Like he's against things, man. This guy hates everything, it seems, except for really disgusting things that are illegal in the United States. So he has now set his sights on Omarchi Linux and the Ladybird web browser, calling them both fascist, right? And that's just, and now it should also be noted that Drew DeVault has also expressed pro-Antifa sentiments and pro-trans sentiments in the past, and other people have kind of chimed in with that as well. Cloudflare bankrolls fascists, says Drew DeVault. And the reason I'm mentioning this is as gross and disgusting as Drew DeVault is, he's getting attention. Right? People within the leftist activist world of open source software are quoting his blog and citing his blog and linking to his blog and talking about it. And yeah, Nazis and fascists, bash the fash man. And it's crazy. They're whipping themselves into a violent frenzy, a violent pro-Antifa, pro-trans, pro-child pornography, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera frenzy. It's crazy. It's crazy that this is a thing. It's nuts. Quote, U.S. politics has been pretty fascist lately. The state is filling up concentration camps, engaging in mass state violence against people on the basis of racialized traits, deporting them to random countries without any respect for habeas corpus, exerting state pressure on the free press to censor speech critical of the current administration, and Trump is openly floating the idea of an unconstitutional third term. Like, okay, that whole paragraph is pure insanity. Like, it's just insanity. Like, we could pick it apart one thing at a time and be like, well, that's not happening, and that's not happening, and that's really not happening. But it's just so insane. It's difficult to have an argument and a conversation when one side is Looney Tunes, right? Because there's not, you normally, when you're having a debate or a conversation, you have to be able to find some common ground of reality. You don't have to agree on that reality. You just have to agree that reality exists. This is not reality. And so it's very difficult to have a debate around these topics when it's just crazy talk. He continues. Fascism is clearly on the rise, and they're winning more and more power. None of this is far removed from us in the free and open source software community. There are a number of fascists working in FOSS and free and open source software, same as the rest of society. I don't call them fascists baselessly. Someone who speaks out in support of and expresses solidarity with fascists, or who uses fascist dog whistles to promote fascist ideology and talking points, or boost fascist conspiracy theories, well, they're a fascist. He said the word fascist a lot. And in a moment of poetic irony, he then goes on to say that Andreas Kling and DHH of Lady Bird and Omarty, respectively, were clearly fascists, right? And Cloudflare funding them was a super fascist thing to do, right? He then goes on to say this in his article. In a moment of poetic irony, a few days ago, Kling spoke in solidarity with DHH over his persecution for, quote, banal mainstream positions. On Twitter just a few days ago, in response to DHH's tweet signal boosting another notable reactionary tech fascist, Brian Lunduke. Okay. That whole sentence was just poorly constructed. But beyond that, again, he likes to label the specific people that he doesn't like as, that he doesn't like their politics of, or he doesn't like that they just simply are not being political, as fascists, right? Also, he really doesn't like me. He's got to find some way to bring Lunduke into this somehow. Though to his credit, to Drew DeVault's credit, and I won't give Drew DeVault credit for much, he actually had the nerve to say the word Lunduke. In the past, he's always kind of gone with the he who shall not be named thing, but he actually named me there as notable reactionary tech fascist, Brian Lunduke. So good on ya. If you say it 2 more times, I appear in the mirror and I go, it's showtime, and it gets crazy. He continues, to sum it up, Kling wears his mask a bit better than DHH, but as far as I'm concerned, it seems clear that both projects are run by fascists. If it walks like a fascist and quacks like a fascist, then why is Cloudflare giving them hundreds of thousands of dollars? I believe Cloudflare gave them each $100,000 for each project, which is fantastic. Again, awesome. Other people chimed in that with support for this, are these fascists? Well, I think we all know the answer to that one. Said Bastian Gershake Zavoras, who, like most people expressing support for these particular views, waves the Antifa and trans flags. You see this over and over again. Antifa and trans. Antifa and trans. And almost all the people, almost universally, all the people that support this, like, let's attack these people who are just normal people, oftentimes centrist, sometimes even slightly left-leaning people, but who aren't, towing the extreme leftist agenda. Let's attack them all and get rid of them and label them as Nazis and fascists and shoot them and attack them and kill them. They almost always have the Antifa and trans flags somewhere, either in their bios or in their various posts or on their blog or somewhere. They also a lot of times will have the Palestine flag. That's another flag that they fly. Sometimes the LGBT pride rainbow flag, but that Antifa and trans, you almost always see those two. Those two are just unavoidable in this particular group. It's fascinating. It's amazing to me that this is continuing to go on. But what's really, really fascinating above all to me right now is that we've seen over the last days and weeks, so much violence. I mean, we've seen high-profile murders done in the name of trans and Antifa. We've seen all sorts of bad stuff happen. And the trans Antifa supporting group, which everyone we've talked about now seem to be part of all of that. They are doubling down. They are going harder. They're not taking a moment to step back and say, okay, let's lay low and be quiet for a while. No, they're going full bore, full throttle. That to me is wild, absolutely wild. Thank you to Lunduke Journal subscribers for making this sort of coverage possible, for allowing the Lunduke Journal for the last several years to be covering all of these topics, because you know the rest of the tech news media just absolutely is not. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, go to lunduke.com, by the way. If you're watching the video version, there's links over there on lunduke.com. You see them right there. They're glorious. Lots of ways to watch and listen and read and interact for free, and ways you can also support the Lunduke Journal. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, nerds and nerdettes across the inner tubes, I do declare end broadcast. It's not really the end of the broadcast. Don't you go away. Don't go nowhere. I'm going to pull up a few notes. Gotta pull up some notes. I've got lots of notes today. Oh yeah, oh yeah, here we are, super cool. Okay, cool. Loving it. Let me take a little sip here. Whew, so much craziness. Oh, we now have over 1,000 people watching. Fantastic. We're live streaming on X and Locals and Rumble and on YouTube. It's pretty fantastic. Pretty fan-friggin-tastic. Yeah. Ba, ba, ba. La 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 la. Do 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 do. All right. Let me close a few things here. Now, let's do the dang man. We got some stuff here. Was Ladybird misspelled? Ladybird was misspelled. Look at that. Ladybird. Oh, here's the thing, guys. I am not a good speller. Of all of my skills that I have, spelling is not one of them. Ask any of my past editors. They have horror stories of dealing with my articles, because my spelling is just atrocious. It's just bad. It's bad. I have no good excuse for it, other than it's just bad. I type it and I'm done. I move on. I already typed it. Ladybird. There you go. If you say it right, Ladybird, it kind of works. There we go. Thank you, chat, for making it work for me. Okay. Next story we're gonna do here is yes. All right. Let's do this big one. We're going to talk about the Ruby on Rails thing, because it's stupid. It's just dumb. But you know what? Approval of Ruby on Rails founder DHH. There we go. Okay, let's go like this. All right, now we're going to have to go through. Got so many of these that we're gonna have to bring up here. All right, let's bring up here. You guys can kind of walk through with me all of these, because holy heavens, there's a lot of them. Oh, I just changed the wrong terminal, the wrong text here. No, hold on. That's supposed to be over here, and that's supposed to be right there. What am I doing? Come on, Lunduke. Come on. You've done this before. All right, we're gonna use this one here. That's a good one. Now that's gosh. Yep. All right, we're gonna grab this one. Yep, group of leftist activists. Yep, we need that one. And then we're also gonna need this one. Yep. Yeah, this is the right one. Yep. Okay, we're gonna need that one. Gonna try and keep this straight and to the point, but there's a couple of really, really interesting ones here. Sure, we'll grab that one. Oh yeah. Oh, that made me laugh. Joe Resington of what was it, Late Night Linux, his podcast. If you write blog posts and your sources are links to the dollar store tech Ben Shapiro's Twitter, you are definitely one of the baddies. Someone replied to him, if you hadn't already said his name twice in front of a mirror, you wouldn't have to leave the readers confused like this. Oh my heavens, it's good. It's good stuff. All right, here we go. Boink. No, that's not what I wanted. The Tobiah Lutke. Yeah, did you guys see this? Who dat? Well, that is the CEO of Shopify. Yeah, the CEO of Shopify came out and laid the smack down. Oh, that's glorious. We'll get into that momentarily. All right, we'll talk about that one in a little bit. That's the Cloudflare. That's that. All right, I think we've got it now. I think, oh my gosh, we can't even get to the YouTube story or the Tailscale story. That's a huge one right now. Okay, we're not even going to be able to get to those. There's just too much. There's too many stories. Here we go. Where's the one that I need for this? Here we go. So we're going to start with this one. We're going to arrange these in orders. And then you know what? No, I'm going to close that one. All right, we're going to bring this over here. Yep. Okay, that's that. Okay. This is crazy. This is really nuts. All right, let's bring this up here, see if I can get this. Oh, yeah. Oh no, I've got that there. Okay, good. Move it over. Holy. Okay. So much to this story. There's so much here. Okay, leftist activists demand removal of Ruby on Rails founder DHH. Fire. CEO of Shopify responds to them. Because this is beautiful. Beautiful. Lovely. Okay. So here we go. Hello, all 1,233 of you hanging out. Whew. Let's do this one. This story's nuts. This story is fargin' nuts. Oops. Instantly, I screw up. There we go. See, when was this? This just happened yesterday afternoon, man. This is crazy. Here we go. Once again, when you see this and I say end broadcast, don't leave. Don't leave. We're not going nowheres. I'll come right back and you'll be like, there he is again. He's so pretty. Oh my gosh, where's Lunduke? No, I'm still here. I'm still here. It's okay. Relax. We're cool. All right, here we go. What sort of face could I make for the thumbnail for this one? Lunduke does answer chat questions. Netflix forum. Before we dive into this, Greg over on Rumble says it's from the movie Johnny Dangerously. Rent it if you can find it. It's ridiculous. Johnny Dangerously is one of my favorite movies. It's absolutely fantastic. My father hung me on a hook once. I love it. It's such a good movie. And yeah, I'm drinking a cherry Coke here. One more sip. Hold on, I held that label wrong. Here we go. Oh yeah, with Michael Keaton and Johnny Dangerously. Seriously, if you haven't seen Johnny Dangerously or lately, you owe it to yourself. It is so good. Okay. All right, CEO of Shopify calls the activists divisive clowns who act in bad faith. That's a good one. That's not a bad face. That's okay. What's the right face for this? I'm just gonna go old school. I'm just gonna be like, okay, get the here we go. A whole bunch of leftist activists, and you know the story's already good when it starts with whole bunch of leftist activists, are demanding the removal of the founder of Ruby on Rails, DHH. They're just saying, you gotta leave. You gotta get out of here, David Heinemeier Hansen, DHH, you gotta be gone. They call him a racist. They call him a transphobe. They say that he has traits undesirable. What? And they're demanding that, check this out. This is fantastic. They're demanding that the Ruby on Rails community project, all of it, 1, cut ties with DHH and his work from this point forward. 2, hard fork Rails and associated projects to a new name and development free from his influence. And 3, adopt a modern code of conduct with suitable community governance. Okay. I have to stop you right there for a second. Because whoever crafted that 3-point bullet list of demands is friggin' retarded. Here's the problem. So let's put aside for a moment the ridiculous racist, transphobe, and traits undesirable thing that they're doing here. Okay, that's all stupid. Put it aside for a minute. The demands are dumb and render some of them pointless. Why do you need to worry about having Ruby on Rails cut ties with its founder if you're then going to fork the project entirely? Do you see how stupid that is? Just fork it. If you fork it, you don't need to cut ties with anyone because your new forked project is already forked. It's fine. Just fork it and do it. Go nuts. The adopting of the modern code of conduct. Now clearly they mean the contributor covenant code of conduct or something based on it. One of the anti-meritocracy, pro-Marxism code of conduct. You know that's what they're talking about because that's what they all are talking about. And when you look into the individuals who are promoting exactly this and who have signed this little open letter, That's what they're advocating for. Now they've also called this Plan Ver, right? Which is was a railway sabotage campaign during with the French resistance during World War II. So this little ragtag group of Ruby on Rails people, and some of them aren't even like big contributors, some of them have only done like one contribution, right? Are demanding that the Ruby on Rails project kick out their founder, and they are likening themselves to the French resistance of World War II. Now, it's very obvious as you read through and listen to stories from so many of these leftist activist groups within open source and big tech that they're a bit delusional. But here we are hearing them say, you know what? They're basically like the French resistance during World War II. Okay. Okay, the level of delusion might be a bit high. One of the other things I want to point out is over the last couple of days, there have been a variety of news stories where people have been taken off the air. You may have heard the Jimmy Kimmel got taken off the air for like 2 days. That story, right? So Jimmy Kimmel with his late night TV show got temporarily suspended off the air. A number of the individuals who are taking part in this, let's kick the founder of Ruby on Rails project out completely. They were disgusted by Jimmy Kimmel being taken off the air. They said it was obvious fascism and dictatorship from Trump, and it was just the worst thing. It was the end of the First Amendment, right? And then they go and make this little public letter of this Project Ver campaign where they said, quote, and this is not a joke, they really said this: "We do not want to restrict DHH's freedom of speech. He can write and say what he likes. However, free speech is not freedom from the consequences of that speech. And we as a community are completely free not to associate with people who hold views we find abhorrent," end quote. And what's amazing is I don't think they actually see how double standardy they're being, how hypocritical they're being. Or on one hand, if one of their guys loses some employment, well, then it's an attack on free speech. But if we do a big campaign to kick someone out of his project, oh, that's just consequences because he has abhorrent views. Got it. Totally understand what you're saying now there. Now, I posted that news up there over on X, and the response has been amazing, right? And I really do mean the response was amazing, and it's continuing to be amazing. There is a flood. If you go over on X right now and search for DHH and Ruby on Rails, and you just look up some of my posts there, you will find posts with 1,000 or more likes and hundreds of thousands of views, and literally thousands of people. How many quote tweets do I have on this? There's 318 quote tweets on just this one alone, and almost all of them are, oh my gosh, this is terrible. These people running this stupid campaign to kick out this guy from his own project are just awful. No, we stand with DHH. It's just over and over and over again that people are doing that, and it's not just you and me. It's not contributors and developers and open source users. Here we've got Toby Lutke, the CEO of Shopify. He chimed in on this one too. He quote tweeted that exact thing I just showed you, those screenshots I just showed you, and said this: "It is such a terrible mental tax on builders that divisive clowns just write in and spew these," I'm sorry for the swear words, this is what Tobias said, "spew these bull beep terms that they clearly don't understand themselves in bad faith. Ignore and keep building." Hell yeah. And that's the CEO of Shopify coming in and saying that. So what's amazing here, and he's not alone, man. We're seeing one person after another. We're seeing tech luminaries come in and come to the defense of DHH. We're seeing people going like, you know what, this is too far. What these people are doing is too far. And people are pointing out all of the past reporting from the Lunduke Journal primarily about open source communities and moderators and whatnot and leaders who are doing these exact same things over and over again, destroying projects. And people are waking up and they're going, holy crap. Sorry, pardon my French. Pardon my French. Toby Lutke, you're a bad influence on me. You got me to say a naughty word. They're just going nuts about it, and it's great. It's great to see people like, no, I stand with DHH. These people are ridiculous, making such awful demands. Is DHH a racist and a transphobe? No. Does he hold these views? I don't think so. Does he have other traits undesirable? No. That sounds cool, but no. And it's just crazy. And multiple people have been diving into this. Here's Grums, who has been on the show in the past. He was one of the main managers for the original World of Warcraft. He also worked on StarCraft and other stuff. And he started looking into it and started noticing that a number of these individuals have made some pretty violent statements, right? They've made some pro-Antifa statements. They've made some statements in support of the murder of Charlie Kirk. They've called people Nazis, like calling DHH a Nazi. And he started noticing it. People who are signing this petition to kick out the founder of Ruby on Rails were like, man, these guys are saying, these guys are saying some pretty awful things. And he's right. He's really right. The more you look into it, the more you realize that there are consistent stances, publicly voiced stances that these people take, not just in this case of kicking David out of Ruby on Rails, but what we saw in NixOS, what we saw in OpenSUSE, what we saw in the Godot game engine, what we've seen in so many of these, what we saw at Red Hat, and on and on and on, where these organizations got infiltrated by leftist activists with a particular set of views. They expressed those views and then began to kick people out, to ban people, to conduct purges, and do exactly what we're seeing them try to do here with Ruby on Rails. And those viewpoints are being pro-Antifa, pro-trans, anti-Trump, often very pro-violence, which kind of goes hand in hand with the pro-Antifa stuff. And you'll also see a few other things mixed in here and there, like being, anti-Israel, pro-Palestine, a few other things here and there. But the consistent ones, pro-Antifa, pro-trans, anti-Trump, almost every time. I mean, it's consistent. It's not 100%, but we're talking like high 90s%. It's so incredibly consistent. You check out their bios, you check out their posts, check out their blog posts, check out the things they say in the forums over and over and over again. They express the same exact views, and then they turn around and they then express support for violence. They then call people Nazis and fascists. They say and they're not Nazis and fascists. The actual people that are getting called that are not Nazis and fascists. I get called a Nazi and a fascist every single friggin' day by these people. They're obsessed with it. But am I a Nazi and a fascist? No, I'm a capitalistic Jewish guy living in the United States of America, and I eat my steak medium rare. But doesn't matter. It absolutely doesn't matter to them. They use those phrasings to mean that, yes, we got to attack these people. We got to kick them out of our projects. We got to hurt them physically. It's crazy. It's crazy that this is happening. A couple of random things I want to show you guys. So this guy, Jared White, this guy over in Oregon, he wrote a big blog post about all of this, about how the Ruby on Rails situation is bad and DHH is clearly a fascist and whatnot. He says that he also notes in his updated blog post that both Toby Lutke and DHS are retweeting posts by a far-right online agitator called the Lunduke Journal, who regularly attacks those in open source he deems to be Antifa and woke. And I just want to say kudos to you, Jared White, for using my name. You're going to get yelled at for using my name. In fact, he already has gotten yelled at. He's been criticized already because he used my name instead of saying something like he who shall not be named, because you're not supposed to use my name. You're supposed to beat around the bush. But kudos to him for using the name there. All right. But there's been a response to this, right? Overwhelmingly, again, if you go look on X especially, it's just hundreds of statements of support for DHH, for non-woke normal people in software, for the Ladybird web browser who is experiencing some similar things, for myself, for others within the open source space who are just normal people, and the amount of support is overwhelming. It's huge, and so this prompted a response from James Smith. Now, who is James Smith? James Smith is the guy who started this Project Ver. Let me bring it up over here. Project Ver, the open letter calling for a hard fork of Rails to remove DHH's influence, right? All right, so he posted over on Mastodon, because of course he has a Mastodon account, the following. Woken up to a few angry pull requests this morning over on the open letter he made. Looks like it's pissing off the right people given their comments. Nice thing about doing this on GitHub is that they're all out there in public. All right, great. So I went over to the GitHub page. I looked at the available pull requests, and I took stock of some things. And the first thing I want to point out is the astoundingly small number of people who have actually taken part in this, who have signed this letter. So there have been a grand total of 49 people who have contributed pull requests to sign this project. A significant number of them have been criticizing the project. I'm going to read the most extreme ones to you now because they've all been really polite and cordial. I mean, snarky, but polite. Here's one who his pull request was to delete everything and add in these lines. The days of socialist censorship and cancel culture are coming to an end. If you don't like someone, nobody obliges you to deal with them. Find another business, product, or framework. It's that easy. And while you're at it, it wouldn't hurt if you lowered your envy and resentment for other people's success. Then here's another one. This other pull request was delete everything and add in just this last little line. This is what all of these were like, right? Several of the pull requests were just delete everything, and they're like, there, I made it more reasonable. Very snarky, but nothing profane, nothing violent, no threats, and of course, they can all just be ignored. Quote, oops, looks like we got a bit carried away with the pitchforks. We are retracting our call to derail the Rails community and apologize for any confusion. Turns out we just needed a coffee break and a quick chat to sort things out. This is what all of them were like. It's fantastic. So the responses were not rude. They were not mean. They were not vulgar. They were literally just people with a little bit of tongue-in-cheek snark politely disagreeing. That's all that happened. But of course, the guy who created the project says that people are pissed off. They're pissing off the right people, and they're angry pull requests, right? Which they really weren't. They were kind of snarky. They were more jokey than anything else. But then he made another statement. And I think this was interesting. So far, though, again, this is the guy that started this whole thing up. My experience has been that there are many more negative responses than positive, meaning more people are supporting DHH than are ready to get him out, right? Maybe the Ruby community wasn't the place I thought it was. Maybe Mini Swan was always alive. Mini Swan is, was it Mike is nice and so we are nice? It's like an acronym that they use over there. Something like that. It was always a lie. That makes me sad. Teardrop emoji. I'm sorry, that's funny. So DHH responded to that one. He responded a couple other times as well, but I want to read this one. This dumb letter that was never going to go anywhere hasn't even gathered 50 signatories. Who in their right mind would also sign such an obvious "don't hire me ever" self-declaration? And that is actually a pretty good, a reasonable thing to say. People are going out there. If you want to have a job in the Ruby on Rails world, which is a lot, I mean, because Ruby on Rails is all over the place. If you want to have a job in that world, to sign an official letter kicking out the founder of Ruby on Rails, where half the internet just started dogging on you in support of the people you wanted to get kicked out, and basically said, you know what, you're a buffoon for even trying this. That doesn't bode well. That's coming up during the interview process. I don't know why someone would do that to themselves. It's absolutely asinine. So this is ongoing, but there has been, let me bring back this Toby Lunduke tweet here for a second, because there's been some good to come out of this. There's been so much anger and vitriol and hate and attacks against people for being anything other than leftist extremist activists within open source. And it's been going on for so long that it can kind of get you down. It's destroyed so many projects. I mean, so many projects. I mean, NixOS and OpenSUSE and so many others have just been ransacked by these people. That it's easy to get disheartened by it all, because look at all the damage that they're doing to projects that are interesting, that have technical merit. Even if I don't use them, they're still technically interesting. They have real users. They have businesses that rely on them. They have people who contribute to them and work on them for years. And this is how they get treated by these leftist activists. It's hard to watch. But something seems to have happened over the last 24 hours where we're not only seeing a massive flood of people coming out and just proudly saying, look, we're normal people and we're done with this garbage, but we're seeing CEOs of major corporations chiming in with the exact same sentiment, like the CEO of Shopify here. It is amazing to see. And I think we're going to see more of it as time goes on. And that's just wonderful. We have a long way to go. There are so many problems relating to this whole topic and open source and big tech, the whole computer industry, that we would be here all day if we listed them all. I mean, shoot, it's not safe for me and leaders, significant leaders of other open source projects, to even go to tech conferences right now. It's not safe. The death threats come fast and furious, and they're legit death threats, and we see people being shot because of having the same sorts of views. It is just simply not safe. The amount of problems that we have is innumerable. But what we're finally seeing is huge numbers of people coming out and saying, no more. We're done with this garbage. This is a bit of a turning point. I want to say thank you to all the Lunduke Journal subscribers who have kept the Lunduke Journal on the air. As we've been covering all of these topics for the last several years, it's been interesting. And we've got a lot more to go. We've got more to go just this week. It's absolutely crazy and wild. But thank you for all of you who support the Lunduke Journal and keep us on the air. If you go to lunduke.com, there's where you're to read and listen and watch all the shows, all the content, all the publications that I put out there on a ton of different platforms, and all for free, because this stuff needs to get out there. Feel free to share it. Share it with everybody. It's all free. And if you want to support the Lunduke Journal, scroll down on that same page on lunduke.com. There's a bunch of ways that you can subscribe. And at the very bottom of that page, you'll notice a little perks for subscriber link that shows you where you can grab PDF ebooks, games, forum access, all sorts of different stuff. We're also starting later this week. We're going to be adding in at the very, very end of all Lunduke Journal shows. Oh, wait a minute. Do I mean this one right here, where we're going to be adding in All lifetime subscribers who want to be credited at the very end of the shows. I've got a whole bunch more to add. If you want to be credited, look at my text. It's all cattywampus right now. It's all cattywampus. If you want to be credited, go to lunduke.com and check out the perks for subscribers. I'll send out an email reminding everyone how to do this later this week as well. I've got a whole bunch to add. I'm only adding in people who want to be credited because I recognize, shoot, you may not want to have your name out there associated with supporting the Lunduke Journal. That may cause problems in the communities you work within, your job, your projects you work within, etc. Because you may work with a lot of the people that we cover here at the Lunduke Journal. So I get that. I'm not making any assumptions. I don't add anyone's name into any public list unless you specifically say, yeah, you know what, add me in there. Another thing that I want to point out is if you want the Lunduke Journal to follow you and you're a lifetime subscriber, you can also contact me as well. Again, I'll send out emails every so often reminding you guys on how to do that. And that's kind of nice because if I follow your account on X, it makes it more likely that I get to actually see the things that you write. So it makes it easier for us to have a conversation that way. And it makes it easier for you to call things to my attention. Because my private DMs on X are flooded. But if I follow you, I'm much more likely to see them, right? It pops up to the top. It's kind of filtered all out. I'm much more likely to see them. It's just great. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, seriously, thank you to everyone who subscribes. You make this possible. Boys and girls, nerds and nerdettes, across the inner tubes, I do declare, end broadcast. It's not the end of the broadcast. It's not it. This isn't it. This is not the end. Hold on, let me fix this little text right here. Because I pasted in the wrong text field. Boom, that's way better. Okay, love it. We are now up to 1,684 people watching the live stream. Good to have you guys here. I'm going to take a drink. Oh, I got one more show I would love to do. Should I just do it tomorrow? Gosh, so much. There's so much. You know what? We're going to do it. We're going to do it today. We're going to do it today. We're going to do it. Is mainstream tech news dead? We're going to talk about this a little bit. Luckily, this one's a little bit easier. Boink. Gonna go over here and click on a thing. Clicking on things is super fun. Making it bigger and moving it down. Good job, Lunduke. You just made a song. That was for you guys, by the way. Everyone loves that song. Very good job, Lunduke. Well, thank you. I appreciate that very much. I think your song was just spectacular. It really made me smile a lot inside and out. Well, stop it. I really do appreciate all of the support. No, I mean it, Lunduke. It was fantastic. Stop, man. I'm blushing now. You got to knock it up. All right, let's see if I can find this here. All right, we need, let's see. What? Moving stuff around. Gonna do this. No, it's not on the page yet. Scrolling it down. Looking. There it is. This one. Oh, man. Let's see where we're at here. Oh, yeah. About. Zoom bow bow dooba 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 zoom bow bow. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna do one more here. This is Brian unedited, everybody. Muppet. Yeah, that's my bad Ralph impression. Ralph is my favorite. Of all the Muppets, Ralph is he speaks to me. That's my favorite. Eric White says, "So Brian has officially gone insane? ? Possibly. The chemicals in the cherry cola are making Brian Lunduke insane," says someone whose name I cannot pronounce, but is probably awesome sounding. Here we go. All right, I'm gonna do this one here because this to me is interesting. I'm gonna change topics a little bit here. Something I just kind of been noticing. Here we go. I've been noticing something recently, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I've been noticing that the biggest of the tech news outlets in their social media presences are getting absolutely no engagement. Just none. Just totally dead, meaning they struggle to get one person to click that like button. They struggle to get more than just a couple of views here and there. And these are with accounts that have millions and millions of followers and are actively published to every single day, day in, day out. I want to point a few things out to you guys because this is really interesting. It makes you question whether or not the mainstream tech news out there, the big tech news, is actually really alive and kicking at all. Is anyone paying attention to them whatsoever? What? For example, here's ZDNet. ZDNet with how many views does ZDNet have? So ZDNet has 456,000 followers. These are over on X, and they struggle, and I mean really struggle, to get even one person to click a like button. One person, like an Aunt Tabitha can literally have an X account with 3 followers and it's about kitten farts, and she'd get more likes than ZDNet gets. And ZDNet publishes all day, every day, constantly. Here's Ars Technica. Ars Technica has 1.1 million followers. Oh, sorry, air quotes, followers. So Ars Technica, what's their engagement like? Well, I scrolled way through their feed, and again, they publish all day, every day. All of their articles go up on X. A lot of their articles, or most of their X posts, get 1 or 2 likes. The best of them gets like a high teens. Like I've got one on the screen now that says 16 likes. What? I mean, seriously, this goes on and on. Well, here's some more. Because it's not just a couple of them. It's a lot of them. Wired has 9.6 million followers. 9.6 million. So what sort of engagement do they get? Well, it's certainly better than Ars Technica. Oh, I don't know, like 22 people, maybe 50 people will click on the like button. The views they get for their X posts are worse than are at their best for Wired, are worse than some of my worst X posts in a given day. Actually, what's really funny is the X post I made that I'm reading from right now is where I mention the mainstream tech news outlets. is the worst performing X post I have had in like a month. I think that's funny. It's like the mere mention of mainstream tech news cursed this X post and made it so it was like the worst performing. But even then, it still was. Let's look at it. Seriously. It was liked 235 times with thousands of views, retweeted 19 times. So it's 11 bookmarks. So it's the worst performance I've had on X in donkey's years. I mean, shoot, this morning alone on X, I think I've had around 800,000 or 900,000 views. So some pretty big numbers compared to this. But the largest tech news sites like Wired struggle to get, over maybe 24 likes with 9.6 million views. How about Gizmodo? Gizmodo with 2.6 million followers. Nothing. Literally no one clicks the like button. Nobody. It's once in a blue moon will one post they have one like. And you have to wonder, is that the person who wrote it? It goes on and on and on. Even the boutique news is like this, right? The boutique tech news. Like, look at the Register. The Register has over 100,000 followers on X, and they post on X all day, every day. I scrolled down and I was looking for good numbers for these guys. I wasn't just grabbing the latest ones. You'll notice the posts I was all grabbing are all roughly a day or 2 days old. Like, I wanted to give their posts time to have someone click a like button on them. The Register with 100,000 followers struggles to get one person to click the like button. Now, based on the individuals that clicked the retweet buttons, because you can kind of look into that a little bit more, my guess is they clicked the like buttons too. It's the writers of the articles that are liking and retweeting the Register articles. It is very, very, very rare that a Register article goes beyond that. It's wild. It's wild. How to Geek, again, a boutique, more tech site, 62,000 followers, same deal. Really hard to find even one person that goes, I liked that. Not one. Now let's compare that. Let's compare it, okay? The Lunduke Journal has 17,000 followers. Little more than that now. I think I'm up to about 18,000 or getting close to it. But so let's say 17,000. So what I was at when I wrote this. It's jumped a little bit. But so 17,000 followers, okay? The average view that comes in is, to get several hundred likes, and the views are all over the map. Sometimes it'll be 5,000, 6,000 views. Sometimes it'll be 100,000 views. Sometimes it'll get more towards 1 million views. Or I'm just doing I'll show you in a moment. But it's crazy how that can happen with only 17,000 views. Wired has over 500 times the number of followers as the Lunduke Journal. But despite that, the Lunduke Journal is outperforming Wired by at least 10 times in views and 50 times in likes. And that is when comparing Wired on their best day of the last month and the Lunduke Journal on the worst day of the last month, right? To give them the best chance, the Lunduke Journal still has 10 to 50 times better performance, despite Wired having 500 times the followers. The worst performing post from the Lunduke Journal is outperforming the best performing posts from the big tech news outlets by a ton. But it's more ridiculous than that. I did some math here. If you combine together the posts from the top 10 tech news outlets, including Ars Technica, Wired, and the like, the Lunduke Journal gets more views and likes than all of them put together by several fold, week after week. Not as an outlier, not on one particular day, week after week after week after week. And that gap is growing. It's crazy 17,000 followers of the Lunduke Journal is beating tens of millions of followers of the entirety of mainstream big tech news easily. Now, here's the thing. That shouldn't be happening. Not a chance. There is no way on green earth. Here's just a few screenshots, right? Here's a random tweet of a story, 600 likes, 137 views, 20,000 views, 16,000 views, again, 600 likes, 300 something likes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It goes on and on like that, right? This isn't to say the Lunduke Journal is the fanciest thing since sliced bread. I'd love to think I am, but I'm not. The problem here is that this exposes significant issues. Are these bots? I mean, let's think about this realistically. I mean, I've got questions. I got some serious questions. Are the followers of big tech news artificially inflated, right? Are they purchased follows? If so, they're purchased follows to an extreme degree, because if the follows of Wired held the same follower to view to like ratio that the Lunduke Journal receives, that means Wired should have roughly 50 to 100 followers at most. Total, like 100 followers. Like, it should have basically nothing. So are we talking about artificial inflation here? Or are we seeing millions and millions of dead followers who simply no longer use X or care? I mean, that seems reasonable, but that would suggest, if that's the case, that would suggest that close to 100% of every X user who has ever specifically followed Wired and Ars Technica and the rest no longer use X. Ever. Not ever. Not under new accounts, never. 100%. I mean, statistically, it's not just, look at the numbers, it's not just 97.8%. It's not just 99%. It's statistically, numerically, 100%. That's crazy. If nobody is interested in what big tech news journalists have to say on X, how are these outlets faring elsewhere, including on their own websites? Now, I've talked with a couple of editors at a couple of tech news websites, which will remain nameless. Two of them are up above. We just talked about them. I won't say which ones. They had to know I was going to divulge a little bit. And they're struggling. They're not getting the views. They're having a hard time getting enough views to keep advertisers interested, which is why you'll notice if you go to Wired and Ars Technica and all these other sites and look through their posts on X and follow them to the articles on their website, you'll notice they all read like advertisements. Like, what's the new latest and greatest phone from Samsung? Uh-huh. Samsung is basically paying these companies, not just Samsung, but many other companies are paying Wired and Ars and all the other ones to write articles, which are really just ads. And even then, even with that blatant non-journalism, just pure advertisement, they're having a hard time paying the bills because their numbers are so low. It's crazy. It's crazy how bad it is getting at Wired and Ars Technica and all the others. It's crazy. So I think it's worth looking at all this. But what I'm taking away right here, right now, is that regardless of the details of the followers, whether they're bots or paid follows or dead accounts or whatnot, no one's interested. Regardless of those details, nobody is interested in any of these big tech news, even the boutique news, like the Register and the like. I looked around, and the only times I've been able to find any real significant support for some of these outlets is on Reddit. That is the one place I've been able to find significant support for a lot of these tech news sites, where if they post an article, people on Reddit will upvote them and comment on them and say, yes, Queen a lot. That's about it. And, well, Reddit is kind of a weird, angry political cesspool and just does not drive the numbers that it once did towards articles. So if you're purely reliant on Reddit for your traffic, you're not going to be bringing in the money. You're not going to be able to sustain yourself on subscriptions or on merchandise or on advertisements, which is the traditional bread and butter for tech news. They're dead. They're dead. At this point, they're dead in the water and they're running on fumes. What happens next? Are we going to see these start shutting down or turning even more into pure advertising systems? Just pure advertising websites and nothing else. We've already seen many tech news websites lay off some of their writers in favor of AI-driven articles, which take press releases and ad copy from companies, feed it into AI chatbots, and spit out articles. We've seen them do that a lot. In fact, I can tell you for a fact that if you're going to most of the mainstream tech news sites, over half of the articles are AI generated at this point. They're based on ads, they're based on press releases and ad copy, and they're AI generated. So, pretty fancy. Thank you to the Lunduke Journal subscribers, by the way, for making it possible for me to do this work. Human generated, no AI generated, real artisanal tech news that actually tells you tech news. And apparently people like it because with even a fraction of the follower base, my numbers are astronomically larger than the entirety of the tech news industry right now. So that's fun. Thank you again for everyone who makes that possible because we rely entirely on subscriptions. No big tech money here. No ads, no nothing. Go to lunduke.com. You can enjoy all the shows for free. There's some fun perks down at the bottom there for subscribers on a variety of different platforms, some ebooks and some games, access to the exclusive forum and all that good stuff. And of course, thank you to all of the lifetime subscribers. Up on the screen, you see a handful of them. I only put the lifetime subscribers up there who specifically said, yeah, use my name. And my apologies. I know I've got a bunch of emails to go through for those of you who want to be added there. And you'll notice that some people use their real names because they're bold and brash. Other people are just like, call me Eric. Or I like the guy who said, call me Guy. And I'm like, okay, do you want just Guy? And he said, no, I want it with quotes around it. Call me Guy. Like, you got it, Guy. Also, several people wanted to be referred to as anonymous. And I said, you want me to credit you as anonymous, like the anonymous, like the hacker collective anonymous? They're like, no, just anonymous. And I'm like, okay. So multiple people are just anonymous. I also really like the guy who wanted to be referred to as the not crazy fedora person. So kudos to the not crazy fedora person. Oh, but they all have lifetime subscriptions, which you can pick up. Go to lunduke.com. You can get monthly, yearly, lifetime subscriptions. You can do it via a whole bunch of different ways. However you want to support the Lunduke Journal, man, it's fantastic. You guys keep the lights on here and keep this sort of reporting actually happening. Because darn it, those other outlets aren't going to do it. And to be fair, even if the Wired or the Register actually did this reporting, would anyone see it? Sort of a tree falls in the forest scenario. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, nerds and nerdettes across the inner tubes, I do declare, end broadcast. But it's not the end. No. We're just going to hang out for a little bit. Do a little chit chat. Not for too long. Ooh, left it all on the field. Left it all on the field today, man. Pedro says, just found you, man. Love your show. Pedro, I just saw your comment. Loved it, man. Loved your comment. It's fantastic. Almost as much as I love cherry Coke. All right, what do we got here? Netflix Foreign says, can people request a number instead of a name? Sure. If you for the lifetime subscriber wall, I got to come up with what I'm going to do when this fills up, because I've got enough emails to go through, and I'll add them later today. So we do the next show, the next docket of names comes in where it's basically full now. So that means anyone that comes in and wants to be added in after that, I'll have to, I don't know, I kind of like that look right there. So maybe I'll just add a second wall and I'll just toggle between the walls or something. Anyway, I got to figure out how to fit everyone on there. But yeah, you can be a number, be a name, have a handle, use your real name, whatever you want. Use an X account if you want to just have people know that your X account is, what you want people to know you as. Whatever, and you don't have to. I make this very clear. There's most people who are lifetime subscribers to the Lunduke Journal are not on that wall. And I don't expect most of them to be on that wall because doing so could cause issues potentially for employment or other things. And because realistically, I mean, what the Lunduke Journal covers can get kind of spicy. It can get controversial. And I don't want to assume and put people's names on there and get them in trouble. So I'm not including anyone until they specifically tell me to add them in. And I'll send out an email today or tomorrow or something, reminding people of all the various perks and reminding subscribers, the lifetime subscribers, how they can get added to that wall and whatnot. Yeah, I'll let that be. Blank says, damn, it's over already. Well, we're going to hang out for a little bit. We're going to chit chat for a little bit with all 1,916 of you across the various platforms. Let's see, what do we got here? Google admitted that they banned accounts on politics due to pressure from Biden. Yes, I published this a little bit over on X, and I wanted to talk about it today because it is interesting. And I've heard from a couple of people now who have had their accounts unsuspended over the last day. But there's so much else to talk about. And other places are covering that story. So I always want to make sure I prioritize covering the things that aren't getting covered elsewhere before I cover my personal takes on the news that everyone else is covering. Because the first priority is getting the news to all of you guys, right? That's got to be the first priority. And so I've got to cover the stuff that is, that Wired ain't going to touch. Greg asks over on Rumble, setting aside the zombie tech outlets, Lunduke, what's your read of the market for tech journalism? It died and it's growing back. Looking at the numbers, not just like Lunduke Journal numbers, but, as I watched the end of the magazine era, because I used to write for, Linux Journal and Maximum and a few other of the print magazines. I was an editor for Linux Journal. And I knew what the distribution numbers were. And they were just nosediving. And it was becoming increasingly difficult for print news, tech news especially, but across multiple other types of print news as well, was just dying. And it was moving to online. But the print to online transition never worked that well. Because with print, there were always two avenues for revenue. There was the ads, which, you find page after page of ads inside of a print magazine, and then paid classifieds and all those things, in addition to the cost of purchasing or subscribing to the print itself. And so you always had those multiple avenues of income. When everyone moved over to online, there was a tendency of everyone to move purely to an ad-based revenue system, and the online ads never paid as much, ever. Not ever. It just never paid as much. And so instantly, boom, they took a huge hit. And people, well, it didn't really make as much sense to pay for classified ad space, classified ad runs on a tech news website anymore. That just no one was going for that. So that went away. And people didn't want to pay per monthly issue or pay per monthly subscription anymore. So that almost completely went away. Even when like Linux Journal had a PDF subscription. So you get a PDF every month. But that was like pulling teeth. People just weren't interested in that by and large. And so the ad or the revenue options all just dried up, and people began getting their tech news from, you know, social media and videos and podcasts, and it became distributed. And even though it was the same number or even more of people getting their tech news, they were getting it from wider varieties of outlets, which means it was less centralized. Because before it was everyone went to a collection of publications. And so those publications were able to stay afloat. Now, not just now, but over the last several years, it just wasn't possible to do that. And so what we have right now is a situation where if you look at all of the biggest tech publications, they might as well not exist. I mean, even Wired, they struggle to get a dozen likes on X. And that's not, it's like, well, maybe X isn't one of their platforms, but it is. X is in fact their predominant platform. That's where they have the most subscribers, and that is where they post to the most frequently. That is their most active platform, and they struggle to get a couple dozen people going, cool, I like that. And that's millions, almost 10 million subscribers. That they should get better numbers than that on accident. They could literally just post a picture of someone's gangrenous toe, and people scrolling past it will accidentally click the like button more often than what is currently happening, which means people genuinely don't like them. People don't want to click on their likes. People don't want to comment. People don't want to retweet. They don't find what they're covering compelling or interesting. But what we are seeing is, I can speak on behalf of myself. The Lunduke Journal, we're seeing people actually wanting to engage, right? They're promoting actively. They're saying this is an interesting topic, and so they're really promoting it. And I think part of that is that finally someone is not just, you know, kowtowing and covering what big tech wants them to pay and just running ads, because people are sick of that. And part of it is that we're getting news stories covered that were getting ignored before. And so people find that refreshing. They're like, well, finally, we're getting this covered. But I think there's one other aspect to it that it's more of a psychological and time management aspect that I think a lot of the big news outlets are missing. And that is that Wired and the Register and everywhere else, they just publish a barrage of stories. In a given day, they'll publish dozens and dozens of stories, 90+% of which are just repackaged press releases, right? They're not interesting. Nobody cares. They'd be lucky if 50 people read those articles. And in the end, people get so tired of it that they just tune it all out. They zone it out. They just were like, forget it. I'm not looking at any of this garbage anymore. And they just assume if they see Wired, if they see ours, well, it's not going to be interesting. It's just press releases, right? It's too much. It's a flood of boring. Whereas if they see the Lunduke Journal, even when the Lunduke Journal publishes a ton of stuff in a day for the Lunduke Journal, it's like 3 stories, right? I take the time to focus on what I think is important for the given day, what needs to be talked about, and people know. That was my alarm. It was my alarm reminding me that I have to wrap up at the top of the hour. I got a little bit of time. But then so when people see stuff come out from the Lunduke Journal, they're like, oh, well, at least this is worth paying a little bit of attention to, right? Even if it's a story that they're not truly interested in, they give it at least a few seconds to scan the headline. Whereas for Wired and the Register and ours and everyone else, people don't even scan the headlines anymore. The people who are running these things suck. Yes, you make a really good point there in the chat. I'm a human being. That is a big difference. And it's not just people that people can see me. They know whether I'm writing or they're listening or they're watching me, that it's just me and my research, my thoughts. Here's some screenshots. Here's my thoughts on it. Here's my editorial based on that. And it's just me. They know I stay away from the AI side of things when 50+% of all of the articles out there are AI generated for the tech news. And then all of the podcasts and tech YouTubers are all based on those AI generated articles, right? They see those articles and they're like, I'm going to do a YouTube video on it. And it's just based on the articles. And then a podcaster will come along and be like, I'm going to make a podcast where I talk about the video with the AI generated thumbnail on the topic of that AI generated article that comes from a press release from Hewlett Packard. Like, okay, why would that be interesting? Like, why would I care about any of that? And the answer is, I think people don't. I don't care, and you guys don't care. And the result is that people tune into the Lunduke Journal, despite the fact that, on X, there's only, whatever it is, 17, 18,000 followers. But, today I'll have 1 million views on X. With 30,000 likes in total among all the different things, and Wired won't hit those numbers for the entire year, and I'll do that today. And Wired will have almost 7 million. Is it 6.9, 9.6, something like that? Close to 10, 9.6. They're almost 10 million followers. How is that even possible? It's crazy. It's crazy. Literally, Wired should stumble into better views than me on accident. So that means that people are not only not interested, they're committed to being not interested. They really don't want to see the stuff that Wired and Ars Technica and whatnot put out. And that's not me. That's all them. And I think there is another aspect to it. I mean, there's a lot of psychological things going on here. When you go read a tech news story from the Register or Wired or ZDNet or any of them, you know that they are given the seal of approval from the type of people that have been attacking the open source industry, right? The Antifa supporters, the leftist activists, the pro-trans activists, et cetera. They're all giving the thumbs up. They're saying, yes, this is the tech news that's we feel is valid. You're allowed to look at this tech news. And when you see Lunduke that it is the forbidden tech news. Right? None of those activists want you to see whatever the Lunduke Journal is putting out. And if you do see it, they want you to really know that I'm a Nazi and a fascist. And if you were a person, I know for me, if I'm hopping online and on one page, I can look at news that people that hate me want me to read. And then on the other side, there's the news that people that hate me are desperate for me to not hear about it all. Well, I want that one. I want the one that they're trying to keep from me. Why do they not want me to see this news? Why do they not want me to hear these details and these stories and these opinions? Why? I'm going to look at that. And so I think that's what we're seeing here. I mean, it's human nature, right? We don't want to be lied to. We don't want to have things hidden from us. We don't want to have the truth obscured from us. And we don't want to be advertised to constantly. I mean, like with the Lunduke Journal, the only time you ever get advertised at is when I tell you about the Lunduke Journal. Right? Like I never have like a hidden advertisement, though you might be fooled into thinking I'm advertising for Coke today, but I'm just really thirsty for Coke. It's the taste of I was about to say it's a taste of our new generation, but that's Pepsi. See, I'm not, yeah. But it's, but you're not going to get You're not going to get bamboozled. You know, you're not going to get sold a line of hooey, you know? Yeah, anyway, that's what that is. It's a big topic. It's a really, really big topic. Greg, I'm mostly quoting from Greg here today. To be fair, you are definitely not the new generation. No, apparently I am not the new generation. My beard is graying, and my mustache is starting to gray a bit more. That's, you know, over the last year, my gray hairs are coming in a bit. I'm not graying so much up top. My hair up top is staying my normal color, but the grays are really coming in on the beard. I'm liking it. I'm liking it. I'm never gonna dye my hair. If I get full on fully gray, man, that's Kenny Rogers goodness. Like, you know what I mean? That's cool. I'm taking it. Jay Pedro over on YouTube says, I just got sold Cherry Coke and Omarchi. What's funny is I don't even use Omarchi. So DHH is a good dude. By the way, man, you guys should see the DMs on my X account. I am blessed. As a nerd, because of the job I have, I've been given the chance where I get to chit chat with absolute legends, right? So most of the people that you hear talked about on the Lunduke Journal, I contact, right? Whether I'm disliking what they do or I like what they do, I contact them. I'm like, would you want to provide a quote? Am I getting this story right? I like to get the information as correct as possible. But I've been lucky because more people keep reaching out that are just legends. I remember like the first time I was sitting in there and I started getting messages from the creator of JavaScript. I'm like, whoa. Then the Ruby on Rails guy. I'm like, whoa. And then the Serenity REST and Ladybird guy. I'm like, whoa, this is cool. And I get to have chit chats with people who were just absolute legends within the industry from years past and today. And some of them like to keep that on the DL because they don't want people knowing that they're having a chit chat with the Lunduke. But it's still really cool that I get to do that. And I was having one of those moments this morning. I was in X in my DMs, and it was like 7 or 8 people in a row. Right at the top of my chat, we were having a little back and forth about some of these things that are happening right now with, Ruby on Rails and Cloudflare and Ladybird and Omarchi and all these other things. And some people who were involved in it and some people who were just not and just watching it. And I was like, wow, one after another. They're just like, man, these are legends. What the heck are they doing talking to me? Yes, like when I would get to have chats with Stuart Chaffee. Exactly. When I get these things, I haven't had a chat with Stuart in a little while. Last time I talked to Stuart was last year. Good guy, man, good guy. But it's just it's exciting that I get to have these conversations with people who have done so much in the computer industry, hardware, software, TV presenters like Stuart, and just amazing. I'm so lucky because I get to do that. I love my job. Thank you to all of you for helping me to have this job, by the way. Let me see what time is it here. Oh, okay, we're getting close to the top of the hour. Thank you guys for hanging out. I really do appreciate it. We've got a lot more news to cover. I was having one chat with, again, another legendary guy that will remain nameless at the moment earlier today about how optimistic it made him that he was able to see so many people speaking out in defense of like DHH and speaking out about how all of these crazy witch hunts from, all these political activists and open source, people are speaking out against it in droves. CEOs, developers, middle managers, YouTubers, they're talking out about it now. Finally, after years of, it just being a handful of us speaking out, there's just everyone's just flooding it. And how and how exciting that was, and how maybe this is the beginning of a turning point, of a change where things are really going to get better. And I think I'm off on the tangents now, but I think he's somewhat right. But man, do we have a long ways to go. We're still in the place where it's still not safe for people like me or some of the leaders of these more non-woke projects. It's not safe for us to go speak at conferences, right? It's still not safe for us to do that. There's still physical danger to us because of so many of these people advocating for violence so regularly, calling us Nazis and fascists and saying flat out that they need to kill the Nazis and kill the fascists. I mean, there's tech journalists that have advocated for me being murdered. We've got a long ways to go. We are a very, very long ways from a point where we're back to a more of a pure meritocracy and we can just accept each other and work with each other. We're a long ways from that. But he was right in that it does feel like right now something is happening, right? There is a little bit of a shift happening. People are coming out of the woodworks. People are feeling comfortable. People are seeing enough high-profile names and faces, some of them legends within the computer industry, speak up and say no more of this garbage, that they're feeling comfortable. They're feeling shielded so they can come out and speak up too. And that's pretty awesome. So we got a long ways to go. We got a ton of news to cover. We covered these 3 stories today. Honestly, we had 10 more interesting ones we could have covered. I don't know if we'll do a live show again tomorrow, but we will do another live show within the next couple of days. We're going to have to do a couple of them next week. We've got a lot of news to cover. And I'm hoping that we can get to a point where we have less of this intense news to cover so we can just have some more fun, right? Watch some old Computer Chronicles episodes together, talk about some computer history, debunk some computer myths, really just have some real old-fashioned nerdy fun. I'm really hoping we get to that point soon because, man, that would just bring me a lot of joy. All right. Everybody, thank you again. Go to lunduke.com and subscribe if you haven't. And grab a free subscription wherever is convenient for you to get the work that I put out. I do recommend following me on X. It's just Lunduke Journal over there. Even if you follow no one else on X. I post kind of a stream of consciousness set of notes over there. And so if you want to see kind of the weird news that's coming up and a lot of the stuff that doesn't really make an official episode or article or anything like that, that's kind of a great place to do it. But otherwise, I publish everything everywhere else. Locals, YouTube and Rumble and everywhere. It's all over the place. And with that, I'm going to head off into the darkness. Now, when I click on the end button here, it will literally be the end. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, nerds and nerdettes, masters and slaves across the universe, I do declare, end broadcast.